Welcome back to Spirit Sherpa, where we bring prosperity to spiritual practitioners. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta. I'm a spiritual business coach and a transformational shaman. I don't even know what I am today. I'm just it's a day. And today we have with us Anabel Tonkovic from Nuna Therapy, and she's going to be our guest today for her spiritual or sacred business. Yeah, I can say this. Sacred business calibration. That's the word I'm looking for. So welcome to the show, Annabelle, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm a quantum Reiki master. I'm an astrologer, and that's primarily what I focus on in my business. I've been doing it for a few years now, and I see lots of clients one-on-one, but I also do lots of group sessions and group events. I've also started hosting some wellness retreats at my farm, which I'm very excited about. We have one coming up in May. And yeah, that's about it in a nutshell.
Awesome. What's going on in your business today that you would like some help with?
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that that's what this was about, and that's why I signed up, and I think I'm always looking to grow, to improve in my business, and to figure out, like, what's the next step? Is where I am the right spot? Is there something I should be doing that maybe I haven't thought about? Or is there a place that maybe I'm stuck, but I can't actually see it? Those are some of the things that are always, like, percolating in my head.
Okay. And so you said you're doing a Reiki practice. Are you teaching classes? You were talking so fast, I was having a hard time tracking. I told you 2 minutes
Oh,
and you're like,
yeah,
oh,
sure,
yeah.
sure, sure. So I some astrology classes. I'm going to be launching a quantum Reiki course in the fall. So I have done some teaching from that perspective. In general, a lot of the teaching that I'll do will be like mindfulness type events, like meditations and things like that. But yeah, that's where I am right now.
Okay. And are you doing Reiki healing sessions too?
Yes.
Okay.
So
So
one-on-ones.
So what is the preponderance of your business right now? What percentage of your business is in those different categories?
I would say right now, you know what? It feels like there's like a pretty good split of one-on-ones, like where however, that said, I'm trying to lean more into events
Hmm.
and doing group workshops, group events, and things like that.
Okay, so 50/50 is what you're doing right now, or
I would say
okay,
about 50, yeah.
all right. Have you ever done group healing sessions?
Yes.
Okay, and are you? How full is your schedule right now?
Um, I would say like on a just taking like a particular month, like it could be fuller, I would say. It could be
Right, but
fuller.
are we at 50%, 75, 25? Where are we? Somewhere in there.
Maybe at 20, I would say 25.
Okay, so you're at 25. So, okay, so the what are you charging for a healing session right now?
150.
Okay. And are you getting price pushback?
No.
Okay. So, um and where are you getting your clients from?
A lot come from Google. Um, yeah, a lot find me through Google, and then some people just find me through my events. So they'll come to an event, they like the experience, then they want to sign up for a one-on-one session.
Okay. So, um so your Google visibility, is that through ads or is that through organic SEO?
Organic.
Okay. Um and So have you looked at the search to see how many people are searching for what you have where you are versus how many are converting to you?
No, I haven't done that. I guess
Okay.
not recently.
Okay. I would definitely do that because it sounds like you're ranking, but you may not be ranking up at the top.
Mhm.
Or there's insufficient search for that to be your primary revenue stream, your primary prospecting stream, right? Lead generation. And so, Uh, that's something to look at and see how you're doing. If you have more than 10 or 15% of what's coming through, then you need to find a different venue to go to for those things. Okay. Um, because you want to make sure it's hard to get more than 10 or 15% of any given market. So, I mean, you can, but it would be hard.
Mhm.
And so, okay. So the first thing I see is you have a practice, but you don't have a business. And so what I mean by that is that you have a lot of things that you do, but you don't have an overarching construct that holds the whole thing, right? You've got a bunch of different offerings, and that's what I
Mhm.
call a practice and not a business. Okay. So uh, the key would be to coalesce all of it into a single construct. You need that overarching construct that's, for me, it's the school. For you, it'll be something else, right? And so if you think about all the things that you do, what are they all in service to?
Um, do you mean like a person? I was
No,
thinking
like
like the
what is the outcome that you're doing? Every practitioner has a foundational energy that they carry. So I carry the energy of transformation, right? So whether
Mhm.
I'm transforming somebody personally or their business, or even when I was selling real estate, I was doing transformation, right?
Mhm.
So what is your overarching energy that you hold that you do with people?
I think that the word that's coming up is healing.
Yeah. Okay. So healing what?
I would say healing. And again, I'm sort of like there are like words that are popping up right now, and like trauma is the one that's coming up. Although it's interesting because I wouldn't necessarily say that all the people that come to me are dealing with some trauma, right? It depends. Um, but yeah, it's like I think the clients that I'm most interested in working with are the ones that really have some heavy shifting that needs to happen.
So this is where we're going to come to the place of, when you start to run a business, you really need to get clear about who your target market is and who you're talking to. Because the more specific you get with your target market and the more specific you get with your offer, the more people will be attracted. And we think about that as being the opposite. We think, oh, well, I can do a lot of things for a lot of people and I don't want to leave anybody out and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't care. It those people, if they feel attracted to you, will come regardless of whether they have trauma or not. They'll just be like, this person is the right person, right? But you need to be talking to a specific group of people in order for you to get your message across. Okay. And I think trauma is a really great thing to be using, especially right now in your marketing, because the entire freaking US is traumatized right now. There's just way too much going on in the world for in the country for it to not be traumatizing, right?
Mhm.
So at least people in this field, right? And so, the non-muggle population, right? With your traffic coming in from Google right now, that's and you're having that be consistent. Has that changed in the last year or so? Have you gotten more traffic or less in the last year?
I want to say there's been more
Okay.
actually.
So that's really good. That means you're ranking for AI search. And so
Yeah.
that is really good because that's exactly where search is going. And so, you're going to have to start targeting for that AI search here soon. But so that bodes well. And if that's the case, I would probably not change your brand. I would keep your brand the way it is, but I would keep let me be clear, I would keep your name and URL the way it is, but you need to create a brand underneath it. Okay. So, Nuna therapy works fine for a healing brand. That's great. And so then what you need to do is you need to create an overall concept of and then a progression, right? You need a progression for what people do and in what order. People get comfort from seeing that there is a process for them to go through. And they're like, oh, look at that. This is a fully fledged process. There's a formula, there's a structure. It actually builds your credibility, right? Because they see that it's not just a bunch of different offerings. They see that there's a pathway to follow to get to their healing, right? And so I would look at everything that you offer right now and see how you can position it and put it into a progression process. So that you say, okay, you start here, or you start here, and then you move into these things. And sometimes your lead magnets, your little a little lead generation webinar, or an event or whatever, those serve as lead magnets for you. They're not actually part of the progression. They're just how you get people in the door. Those are considered events. They're not in the progression. Okay. And so you'll do events, and then you'll have progression of what your main core structure is. And that core structure should get people from point A to point B.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, each section of the structure will do point A to point B within its own section. But then the overarching structure will get people from point A to point D or X or whatever, right? For the whole thing. So it should be clear as you lay it out what they get out of each one and how it takes them in a step down the path,
Mhm.
right? So you don't want to get into educating people too hard about the path itself, because nobody cares, right? Except for anal hyphen retentive people, which a lot of our people are. But you don't want to give them too much because they'll get stuck in that instead of going into the purchase process. So you say, this gets you to, I'll take mine as an example just so that I'm able to give you a clear vision. So welcome to the woo gets you to mental, emotional, and energetic safety. Okay, there's a single outcome, right? And then woo squared gets you to solidify your sense of self, your identity, and your energetic container. Clear outcome. Woo you takes you to sovereignty. Okay. Um, and control over yourself, being in power in yourself. So those are clear outcomes for each of your things, right? I'm not going into exactly all the details of how that works. I'm just saying this is where you get from each piece. So that's what you want to lay out for yours. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So, and everything you do should either fit into that or should be a service to that. Okay. So the events are a feeder. So they're in service to that. The Any services that you do, private healing sessions, group healing sessions, things like that, should be in service to your progression. They're not one-offs.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, like in my business,
Yeah.
I do offer one offs to the public, but they're super expensive. So, like, because I don't want to do them, right? I want to be in relationship with my clients. And so, a one off appointment with me for somebody who's not in one of my programs is $1,000, right? But if you're
Mhm.
in my programs, that number goes down dramatically, like dramatically, right? It's less than half. Okay. Because I want people in my system, because I work best with people when I work with them long term. You need to know how you work best with people, and you need to design your structure to support that.
That's actually super interesting that you said that, the long-term piece, because I've been thinking about that for a while. I actually did design somewhat of a pathway, and I like it's available. Like I have it in a document, and I paused on it because I was like, I don't know." And I haven't like put it out, but I was thinking in the terms that you're saying right now. And I am also that way. I mean, I think having a lot of Scorpio energy, I like to go in really deep with people. I don't like the surface level. And I think I'm struggling because I find that, like, yes, people will come for a session. Maybe they come for two, but they're not coming again. And that's fine, right? Some people don't need more than that. But I also sometimes I do see that maybe that client could benefit from a longer journey. But I also know I've noticed that like they also don't know what that looks like for them.
Right.
So I think everything you're saying completely I'm fully aligned with. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
been I have had it in my thoughts.
well, and Reiki is sort of a beginner place that people start, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're using Reiki as an entry point, you're going to get people really early in their discovery journey, right? So there's a pathway that people go through. I've spent 50 years in this work. So people start off with there's got to be more to life than this, right? And then from there they go into various and sundry places to try and find a pathway that fits for them. And so they come into the spiritual world and they go, ooh, angels, ooh, crystals, ooh, tarot cards, ooh, 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 and they go down a rabbit hole for the next 2 to 5 years on all of these different topics, right? And so and they get lost for 2 to 5 years. They don't progress because they get the bright and shiny, right? And so instead what you have to do is you have to take them and redirect them to you came here for a reason. You were in pain, you were not happy. Let's address that. And then you can go find the bright and shiny things and have fun with them, right? But let's get you back on track, and that takes them into stage 3, which is it's the prove it slash spiritual addiction phase, right? It's where you prove to yourself that you can, in the stage 2, you're in when you do all the crystals and the tarot cards and whatever, you go into what I call proof and proselytizing, which is, holy crap, this stuff actually works. I must tell everyone I know and drag them out to classes with me so they don't think I'm nuts, right? And then, you go into that phase. And then that's where they get lost for 2 to 5 years. And then they come into the prove it. So prove to myself I can do it. That it's not just other people that can do it, but I can do it too. And then you go into the spiritual addiction phase, which is I've got to read every book. I've got to watch every podcast. I've got to listen to everything that's out there. I've got to watch every video. I'm just taking it all in, right? And so you're getting people in that early discovery phase with Reiki. And transformation doesn't actually start to happen until the end of phase 3 and the beginning of phase 4, which is where they admit that. So in phase 3, they're searching for the magic pill, right? They're looking for
Yeah.
the magic pill that's going to fix them. And in order to get from phase 3 to phase 4, they have to admit that they are the magic pill. The magic pill is inside of them, right?
Mm.
And so you're catching people in early discovery, but you want to work with them at the end of 3 and beginning of 4. And so you're catching them in 2. And so you really need to look at how you're catching people, where you're catching them, because the people in early discovery are not ready to go to stage 4. They're in stage 2.
Yeah,
So, either your progression needs to include getting them out of 2 into 3 and through 3 into 4 in order to get them where you want them to be, or you need to start targeting people later,
Mm.
right?
Okay, interesting. Yep.
Yeah. My podcast does that for me. I caught them in the same place in my podcast, but I started the podcast 8 years ago. And so it catches them in the beginning stages, and the podcast walks them through and gets them into stage 3 and ready for stage 4. Okay. And so that's what I use to do that, because I didn't want to have to do it in person for every person. I didn't have the patience for that. Right. But the podcast itself walks them through it. But it took me several years to get that podcast to the point where it was ready to be up and going. So it might be a good thing to start for you, but
I have a podcast,
you do. Okay, good. So,
and I
like,
think it serves a very similar purpose to what you're saying. I mean, I've had it for 2 years maybe,
oh, perfect. Yeah.
and I think it also picks people up in that first stage as you're talking about. I
Yeah.
really think it does. Yeah.
So then what you need to do is you need to periodically have just drop a thing in, like every 20 or 30 episodes. You need to say, okay, if you're binging this and you haven't had a discovery call with me, it's time to sign up. You would be shocked how effective that is. Right? I did it by accident the first time, and I was just like, a flood of calls came in, and they were like, oh my God, I felt so called out. I had to call. Right? You'd be shocked how effective that is. Okay. So now every 30 or 40 episodes, I drop it in, right? It's just because
Nice.
they're in there, right? And so, you don't want to do it every time, but, every so often. And so, this is the thing, is you want to develop this, make sure, and just focus on your podcast being about that. So it should be all the bright and shiny topics.
It is, yeah.
Right. And then you need to throw in some personal growth stuff along the way. Say,
Mhm.
reminders. It's like, I'm going to remind you that you came into spirituality because you weren't happy. And this stuff is all well and fine, and it's all cool, and it's all interesting. And don't get me wrong, I love it too, but it's not going to make you happier. And if you want to be happier, then this is the path to take and introduce your process.
Mhm.
Okay. That's how you get the conversions. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can even talk to them about you're in the discovery phase, right? It's fine. Right. So that they understand why you're telling them what you're telling them.
Mhm.
Right. And then you could periodically do a call to action that is like, okay, are you at the point where you're recognizing that the magic pill is not outside of you, it's inside of you? Now you're ready to work with me. Call me.
Mm.
Let's set up a time and I'll walk you through how this is going to work and how we can get you to where you want to go. Right? It's just that simple, that solid of call to action.
Mm. Okay.
Okay? But you have to have the progression in place because those people, they're ready, but they've been on their spiritual addiction phase. So they are deep into the thing. They've seen everybody's offering. They've looked at everybody's websites. And you need to have something, you need to have a container that is solid enough for them to say yes to.
Right.
Right. And so the building of the solid container is building of your framework that you're going to create that progression in. And so they'll come in and be like, well, what's the curriculum? And it's like, well, it's not about the curriculum. It's about the process. And so here's the process. And if you really need to see the curriculum, I can give you access to the outline where you can see the modules and whatever, but you won't be able to see the lessons, right? And so you can do that or maybe you have a Google Doc with it, right? I have mine in Member Vault, so I can just give them access. They can see the high level stuff, but they can't see the details. So, but if they trust you, if they know, like, and trust you, they don't really go there. Okay. The people who go there are the people who don't really know, like, and trust you yet. Okay. The people who know, like, and trust you come in and just say, okay, I'm ready. Take me where I need to go because they already know, like, and trust you. Okay. Which is a great thing about having a podcast. So you're well ahead of the game in that regard. So you've already got them knowing, liking, and trusting you. How many downloads a month are you getting on your podcast?
So I do one episode a month. That's what I'm doing. And I also don't know off the top of my head, but the numbers, I mean, I think they're like maybe 20s or something like that, in the
Okay.
20s.
The reason that that's so low after 2 years is see, that's not going to produce money for you because that's not enough people. So the
Yeah, yeah.
reason that's so low is you're not doing enough episodes. So you don't have consistency.
Mhm.
I do a weekly episode, which is more work, but it is, I get right now, well, my downloads are down because I'm pivoting the podcast right now, but we're still getting about 2,000 downloads a month. Okay. Um, and that's enough for decent business. It's not enough for an amazing business. Okay. I have other revenue streams that I bring in. Okay. So you really need to work on optimizing that podcast. And are you on YouTube as well, or just on like a podcast host?
I am on YouTube, although I don't really like, it's not really a video. It's just,
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously a video, but it's not a video of people.
Yeah. You need to be putting actual videos on YouTube and you need to start optimizing there because that's where most podcasts are getting discovered these days.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing I do is I regularly post all my podcast episodes over and over and over and over again on my social media because almost nobody sees any one thing you post.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm at the point where I have 450 episodes of my podcast at this point. So I can post a million times, and even people who would see everything don't see it all because there's 450 episodes, right? So it takes a long time for it to cycle back around. But you have 24 episodes at this point because you've done once a month for 2 years, right? Um, but you can take that and feed it through a video program that will turn your audio into a video. And I would highly recommend doing that and then optimizing your channel around those. And you can cut those down into shorts. You can, there's all sorts of ways to optimize that. So do some research on YouTube, because if you want to get more business in the door, that is a really good way to get more business in the door, is once you start optimizing YouTube. We're doing that in my business right now, because for years I didn't do anything but just slam things over there and ignore them, right? Because YouTube was not my primary channel. And so because YouTube has become so influential in the last couple of years, I'm being forced to go back and optimize my 700 videos I have over there. I have 700 videos. It's insane.
What do you use to convert the audio into video?
So, do I remember the name of the program? If you do a search, you'll find it. Just say, AI generated video for audio content, and do a search. It'll come up, right? I want to say it starts with an I, Indicta, or no, that's not right. Something, I don't know. My brain
Oh,
is not giving it to me.
all
But
right.
if you do a search for it, it'll come up. There's like 8 different companies out there that do it, and so, um, and then, you cut them down into shorts, because YouTube Shorts is how people discover things, right? And so you really want to definitely have shorts going out. And the what was the other thing I was going to say? Nope, it's gone. Nope, it's gone. I don't have it. It'll be back or it won't. Anyway, um, so, but you need the overarching brand. Let's come back to what we were talking about, which is that overarching brand. Um, and the vision of where that's going to go, right? So you want it to feel yummy, right? Because trauma is not yummy. So it's very much about stepping into a more solid way of being, a more balanced way of life. The ability, and all of your people are going to be empaths too, because that's who we attract, right? And so you talk about finding balance as an empath, finding safety, and all of that, right? Especially right now. I mean, I moved out of the US in 2022 because the energy was just too overwhelming. I was like, I do not want to be in this energy anymore. And I was filtering it, and I was grounding it, and I was doing all, and I was just like, no, I'm tired of working this hard to get the energy out of here. I'm out. Right. And so everybody, and it's like 10 times worse now than it was in 2022. So that is something that people who are in the place that you want them to be are going to be very aware of. And so you can use that as a starting point. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So I've given you a ton of stuff, and we've gone way over. So
Yeah. Thank you.
I
I
know I can
appreciate
be a
it.
little overwhelming sometimes, but I want to make sure that you had a big picture on it. So, um, so you have any questions about anything we've talked about, or everything we've talked about?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I just need to digest it and just process the
Yeah.
information before I can come up with questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, here's an option for you. We do offer the Sacred Profits Mentorship Program, and I'm telling this to everybody who's listening. And so, if you are needing help in your business, if you need help in evolving your process, if you're trying to reconsider or create a business out of a bunch of offerings, transition from practitioner to business owner, then come on out to the Sacred Profits Program. We offer mentorship to business owners who are at $10,000 a month or less in that business model. And we provide a huge amount of content every single month. You get 4 different types of content every month. And then you also get a book recommendation. You get the full length version of these episodes, because this episode has gone for, I want to say like 45 minutes. And you guys who are listening on the podcast are only going to see about 20 minutes of that. So you'll get the full length versions of these in that program, as well as a piece of magic from us every single month. We'll do a guided meditation or a sound healing or something of that nature every single month, as well as having a group coaching call once a month with me, and open office hours for questions with Josh once a month. So huge amounts of information coming through when you join that program. And right now we are still in the founders level of that. So it's only $97 a month. It will be going up once we get through our founders level. We've got like 31 spots left as I'm recording this, but it'll probably be a lot less than that by the time you guys hear this because I'm recording this in advance. So,
Mhm.
and then after that, it goes up to 147. And then after that, after 50 people come in from there, it goes up to 197. So get in early because people who got in when I offered this at $29 a month before we added in the coaching are really happy right now because they're going to be at $29 a month forever. And that's the way it works. Whatever you join at is what you stay at. So, and we're going to be adding more stuff. So it's going to get even better. So, okay, so that's my little pitch, and you heard it too, and you can think about that. But there will be a link in the show notes, guys. So if you're interested, please join that link. And Annabelle, tell everybody where to find you.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me online. It's www.nunatherapy.com. I'm also on all of the social media platforms at Nuna Therapy. And yeah, you can go ahead and find me there as well.
Awesome. And guys, please share this episode with anybody you know who might need to go from practitioner to business owner, like Annabelle has been talking about today. Because you're just going to be helping them out and it also helps us out. So if you got anything out of today's episode, sharing, liking, subscribing is a great way to balance your karma on that. And we really appreciate it. So, and that's it for today. So remember, what you focus on expands, what you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.